Lots of systems have had stories written about them, but this is one of the rare exceptions where a story led to its inception. I'm Chris with Jerry'sOutdoorSports.com, and let's get into the Springfield TRP as my voice slowly dies. The TRP is a system with a history worth knowing that shows why it's greater than the sum of its parts. But if you want to jump to the review, go to this timestamp right here.
Hey everybody, Chris from the future, and I'm just now editing this, and I just want to apologize for the audio quality. My bronchitis that I had at the time was way worse than I thought. I did what I could with the audio to make it a bit better, but you also get to enjoy me being Dayquil drunk. Also, Windigoon has released a video on the Ruby Ridge siege that I was not aware at the time of filming on this, and I've linked it in the description, so go ahead and go check that out for him. Again, thanks for watching. Remember, YouTube hates us, so your subscriptions, likes, and shares are about the only support we get there. Enjoy the video.
Agent Danny Coulson of the FBI was selected to stand up the hostage rescue team, or HRT for short. They selected the best people and equipment available and trained in advanced tactics that had been pioneered by the SAS and Army Delta Force. At the end of his career, Danny Coulson would go on to write a book about his experience called No Heroes, which was my primary source of research on the HRT. And their motto was nothing less than a great aspiration for what they were to be. The first true test of the HRT would come in 1985. They would face off against a group of white supremacists called the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord, who had been setting up a compound to survive the apocalypse that they were certain would come any day. And they probably would have been left alone, except for A, they were honest-to-God white supremacists, not what HuffPost and Salon write about, and B, they were financing this with a string of bank robberies that was leaving a trail of dead people all the way back to the Missouri compound. The HRT would take advantage of the locale being known as a fishing destination and pretend to be fishers while they collected intel and blended in seamlessly. Well, almost seamlessly. Seems that one of the bed and breakfast owners that they had lodged with had taken exception to them not fishing enough and called the local sheriff to report that they were all gay men. And the 80s Bible Belt was crazy. Anyway, within due time, there were 300 FBI agents going around collecting intel and reporting back on actions of the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm without being detected at all. After 5 days of some of the craziest negotiations I've ever heard about, the entire compound would surrender peacefully and be subjected to one of the craziest shows of force I have ever read. I'll leave you to read the book to find out, but it was insane. In 1985, 4,000 Cuban prisoners learned that they would be deported back to the communist state. They were none too pleased to find out that they would be sent back to the hellhole that they had worked so hard to escape. 1,500 riders took 94 prison employees hostage, and while the HRT was tasked with dealing with a mirror incident in Oakdale, Louisiana, Agent Colson was tasked up to Atlanta to assist. Requesting the assistance of Delta Force operators, the FBI team was able to secure the subterranean tunnels and ensure a peaceful resolution, resulting in only one dead and a handful wounded. In 1992, a bumbling US Marshal would show a complete lack of discipline and professionalism when he fired upon Samuel Weaver's dog, then would murder Samuel Weaver. A family friend would open fire on the attacking Marshals, killing one of them, and this would start a 10-day siege at a place known as Ruby Ridge. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms had charged Randy Weaver with the manufacture of 2 sawed-off shotguns. And the US Marshals were there to serve an arrest warrant for failure to appear to Weaver. While the ATF and US Marshals bumbled through an escalating situation, the FBI was brought in to help. 2 bureaucrats with no background in dealing with sieges like this were brought in to control and command the collection of federal agents. By the time the HRT had shown up, information and communication had completely broken down. The rules of engagement that had been issued were in complete violation of FBI protocol and even federal law. But by the time this all came to light, it was too late, and the HRT was reeling while they tried to figure out what they were supposed to be doing. On August 22nd, an HRT sniper saw what he interpreted as the besieged family trying to fire on a circling helicopter. From a range of about 200 yards, one round struck Kevin Harris, the man who had killed the U.S. Marshal, in the arm. As Harris tried to retreat into the family's home, the sniper tried his hand at another shot. This round found the face of Vicki Weaver, who was holding her infant child. The family was forced to watch while she laid there dying. When the siege was done, a U.S. Marshal, a wife, a son, and a family pet were all dead. The Weaver family received a $3.1 million settlement for the ordeal. In his book, Danny Coulson states outright how foolish the whole thing had been over a couple of sawed-off shotguns. Randy Weaver is in no way any kind of saint, but the incompetence of the whole siege is nothing his family should have ever had to endure. The next action of the ATF would leave Ruby Ridge looking like a rough dress rehearsal. At the Mount Carmel compound near Waco, Texas, the ATF would once again pass the buck to the FBI, and the HRT would be roped into another nightmare. After a 51-day standoff, 86 people would be left dead, and the compound burnt to the ground. The story of Waco has been told many times, and I won't belabor it. But if you do want a better understanding of what happened there, I really recommend Windigoon's video on the Waco siege, as he dispenses with most of the drama that so many of the documentaries just cling to. At the end of it all, the HRT would take the blame for the ATF's mismanagement of the entire situation, and the wheels would be set in motion for the worst act of domestic terrorism the U.S. had ever seen. The Heyman report suggested that the FBI SWAT should standardize their equipment along with many other reforms, and Request for Proposal 6990 decreed what the next sidearm for FBI SWAT and HRT operators would be. It was clear that it would be a 1911 government model that had been elevated to the absolute pinnacle of what a production pistol could be. It would be required to have Novak sights, the absolute height of the state of technology at the time, and be held to an incredible accuracy standard. Samples from Colt, Cylinder and Slide, Springfield, Kimber, and Bill Wilson were all submitted to the trials. The first major hurdle was the accuracy requirement. The request for proposal demanded that it would shoot 1.5 inches at 25 yards, but not with match-grade ammo. Instead, the proposal required that it be done with Remington Golden Saber. Through some stroke of luck, I was actually able to find some of this now discontinued ammo. Bill Wilson came out and said outright that it was impossible, but the manufacturers went ahead and made it happen. With this ammo, I was actually able to squeeze out a couple of less than 2-inch groups at 25 yards, and somebody who's actually good with a pistol could probably do a little bit better than that even. Well, now we know that the Remington Golden Saber hollow point is really underwhelming in its performance. Back in the mid-90s, this was the pinnacle of defensive pistol technology. When it came out that the first batch was going to be 500 pistols with a provision for up to 5,000 more, plus maintenance and repair, only Colt, Springfield, and Kimber remained, and clearly Springfield won. If you're interested in the entire drama behind the selection trials, there's a really good video by the old 1911 that goes over a magazine article from American Handgunner about the trials. I'll link that in the description for you to listen to. Springfield was quick to capitalize on the prestigious win and came out with the Bureau model that had a serial number prefix of FBI before just as quickly they were hit with a copyright strike from the FBI, where they then decided to call it the Professional model before settling on the Tactical Response Pistol, or the TRP family. The 2024 reintroduction of the TRP family comes with a few choices. For the 5-inch guns, you get to choose between having an accessory rail or none, but all of the commander size 4 1/4 have the accessory rail. You also get to choose between a black Cerakote or, like mine, an FDE Cerakote. Now, the full-size 5-inch models have a magwell already on them, which makes a lot of sense since it's actually useful on a single-stack gun. And while the 4 1/4-inch guns come with a bobtail that Springfield calls the carry contour. These are built to incredibly tight tolerances, and Springfield even warned me that I might have some malfunction issues for the first few hundred rounds as it got broken in. And when I picked it up, it was tight as a drum. Gone are the Novak sights, instead replaced with a set of contemporary ledge sights. You can charge it on a convenient solid surface or on your belt. The sights have tritium vials in them for people who still think that's worth anything, and the sights are very nicely serrated on the back to get rid of glare. I did notice with the front serrations that on a solid colored target it was easy to pick up, but some of the glare off the serrations actually made a busy target a little bit hard to resolve. So hopefully the bad guy doesn't have a graphic tee on. Go ahead and jump in the comments and tell me if you have problems like that or if it's just another sign of my failing body. The triggers on these are excellent, and mine breaks at a crisp 4.5 pounds, which, as I've learned my way around single action triggers, is kind of becoming my preferred pull weight. The reset is perfect like you would expect, so quick follow-up shots are easy. Even with the lighter aluminum 4 1/4-inch model, the balancing on this is so good and the tuning is so good that you just don't feel like you're getting hammered by it. The slide release is a standard 1911 affair, it works. The magazine release is also a normal 1911 mag release. It drops the mag when you tell it to, and it doesn't when you don't. The safety, however, is an utter work of art. If you are trying to build a 1911 or adjacent platform, you need to get one of these and study the tensioning and smoothness of this ambidextrous safety. This is what every single action safety should be. Yeah, there's a web safety. Yeah, I hate web safeties. You already all know that. Moving on. The top of the slide is serrated to get rid of any glare that might be up there. And the checkering on the front and the back straps is 20 lines per inch, which is part of the original FBI request. It's very, very grippy, and you really lock into it, but it might be uncomfortable for some people, but I didn't suffer any discomfort while I was using it. The G10 grips are cut wonderfully and look great. and help lock your hand in. Now, the grip scales, both of them on mine, came loose twice, so if this was my gun, I would make sure I put some Loctite on there when I torque them down. In the first 250 rounds, I did have 2 failures to go into battery, but I was able to remediate these with nothing but a pop on the back of the slide. And after that first 250 rounds, I had no issues with reliability, including hollow points like Hornady and the Golden Saber, which I'm still stunned that I was able to find. The TRP was born of the ATF and FBI's most colossal blunder that left deep scars on both agencies and the people they're supposed to serve. It was a pistol that went way above and beyond any reasonable requirement of a service sidearm. But when the industry got a blank check, Springfield came up with something really special here. And while the HRT's gone on to different sidearms, it's our turn to savor this. If you want a TRP of your own, or if you want to buy the sidearm that you think the HRT should have gone with, check us out at jerryoutdoorsports.com. But anyway, I'm Chris, and I'll see you next time.